Ahoy guys, and welcome back to I Like Watches, and welcome to video number 3 in a series of videos where I review watches that contain high accuracy quartz movements. It all started when I purchased this stunning Grand Seiko SBGX 263. This is literally the cheapest Grand Seiko money can buy, but it contains a seriously impressive 9F series high accuracy quartz movement. The more research I did on this movement, the more I became impressed with high accuracy quartz movements, the more I wanted to see other watches that contained similar movements, and the more motivated I became to share this information with you guys. So after I reviewed this, and that review did pretty well, it's up to about 130,000 views. I am also giving this watch away in January, guys. So links in the video description to the giveaway. I then went on to buy a Bulova Precisionist, which is another very well-known high accuracy quartz movement watch. I reviewed that watch, and yeah, the review did pretty well, and I've given that watch away. Actually, that has already concluded that review. So I've now moved on and I've bought another Seiko, not a Grand Seiko, not a Credor, but an actual Seiko, which contains another high accuracy quartz movement. One I suspect you may not be that familiar with. It's actually the high accuracy quartz movement that preceded the movement inside this watch. And it was put into Seiko watches, Grand Seiko watches, and Credor watches. Yeah, I didn't know about it. Did you know about it? Be honest. Let me know in the comments section. Did you know the Seiko 8J high accuracy quartz movement even existed? I didn't. Anyway, I've imported from Japan a JDM Seiko Dolce, tiny little thing. Yeah, it's probably too small for most of you, but it's a fascinating watch because it does contain the 8J41 high accuracy quartz movement. I've done some research on this movement and I'm going to share everything I've learned about it with you in this video. I will review this watch, but of course the focus of the review is going to be primarily on the movement. A little caveat, a lot of the information I've gathered to help me with this review has not been obtained directly from Seiko. I did actually contact Seiko and ask them about the movement inside this watch, and they were able to tell me very, very little, which is a real shame. So I've done lots of research online, and all the information I'm about to share with you, well, I sort of can't vouch for it, but anyway, it's what I've discovered, and I'm going to share it with you. Take it with a pinch of salt, but here it is. Right, I've made some notes on this 8J series movement. They're on my phone. I'm going to read them from my phone. But I've put this Seiko Dolce on my wrist just to show you this thing. It's tiny. I will run through all the facts, figures, stats and specifications in a minute. But yeah, I just want to run through what I've learned about this movement. So you will see that this movement is called the 8J4, the 8J5 and the 8J8. And I believe what Seiko did was when they produced this movement, and I think they might still be producing it actually, but when they make these movements, they test them for accuracy, and they make the most accurate ones, the 8J8 series movements, and they put those in Credor watches. They then make the middle ones, 8J5 series movements. They put those in Grand Seiko, and the least accurate ones go into the Seiko watches like this, and they are known as the 8J4s, but they're still accurate to around plus minus 10 seconds a year, which is pretty impressive. And they are thermo-compensated. I mentioned it in my Bulova Precisionist review that generally high accuracy quartz movements achieve their accuracy through one of two methods. They are either thermocompensated, where the movement will detect the ambient temperature and make adjustments because temperature does affect the quartz crystal's performance, or they make the crystals vibrate significantly faster than the 32,000 vibrations a second. The Bulova Precisionist vibrates 262,000 times a second, and Citizen have actually made that movement, I think it's the caliber 0100, which does both. It's thermocompensated and it vibrates 8.3 million times a second, hence it's able to achieve accuracy of plus minus 1 second a year. Incredible. Now, I think these movements went into production in the late 80s, early 90s, because I've been on Chrono24 and I found some watches that contain the 8J series movement dated 1990, but I've also found some Seikos and some Credor watches that are dated, well, the production date is 2022. So I think they're still putting these movements inside new watches, but not Grand Seiko watches, because they have replaced this 8J series with the 9F series in Grand Seikos. The same movement that's gone into this one. Now, I've explained the difference between the 8J4s, the 8J5s and the 8J8s, but what about the fourth character in the model number? Well, that relates to whether or not the movement is a date or a no date, whether it's gilt or whether it's silver. So each of the 8J4s, 5s and 8s had a number of different variations made. So that is the fourth character in the model number. The movement inside this watch is an 8J41 because it is a no-date complication three-handed quartz movement. So not only is the tiny movement inside this tiny watch thermocompensated, it's also anti-magnetic, and actually there's a little anti-magnetic symbol on the case back. It's accurate to plus minus 10 seconds a year. I've already explained that. And a 3-year battery life. Yeah, that's pretty impressive. Now, I have read a few articles about the movement inside this watch, and I saw that it was described as the last cost-be-damned movement made by Seiko. It was the last time Seiko made a movement regardless of price or cost. They basically knew what they wanted to achieve, and they didn't care how much it was going to cost. They were going to achieve what they wanted. And from this, they went on to produce the 9F series high accuracy quartz movement, which we are seeing now in this Grand Seiko. So it seems like a fairly impressive movement, doesn't it? So you would expect all of these watches to be incredibly expensive. Well, on Chrono24, which seems to be my new favorite watch selling or buying app, I have seen watches just like this, not new, this was a new one that I bought. I have seen secondhand watches just like this in good condition for sale for around £100. So you can pick up a watch with this fantastic movement for £100. Admittedly, the watches are very, very small and they're not going to suit everyone. But you can also spend £2,500 on a Creedor with basically the same movement in it. That just doesn't make any sense, does it? A Creedor for £2,500 with basically a slightly more accurate version of the movement that's found inside this watch. Now, I paid £350 to buy this watch. I then spent another £70 or so importing this watch. It's cost me around £420. And guess what? I'm giving it away. It's the third high accuracy quartz watch I'm giving away. I'm still giving away this Grand Seiko. I keep holding it upside down, don't I? I'm still giving this away in January 2023. I've just given away the Boulevard Precisionist. I am giving away this tiny little Seiko Dolce when this channel reaches 24,000 subscribers. There is a link in the video description and the comments section to the launch video for that. So if you are interested in owning this watch, take part, guys. Right, and that is what all the fuss is about. That Seiko Time Corp 7 jewels, 8J41B at the bottom right hand corner there, look. And just look how thin this movement is. I mean, this watch with the case back is well under 6-7 millimeters. I think it might even be 5.5 millimeters. The battery itself is also incredibly thin. Yeah, that is pretty impressive, isn't it? Well, it really didn't take much to put the case back on. I literally pressed it on with my fingers. It took almost no pressure. So yeah, 30 meters of water resistance with this one. I definitely wouldn't submerge this watch in water, but there it is. That is the dial and the hands. It's actually very, very pretty, this watch. If it wasn't so small and it didn't have that crown, I think it would be a beautiful watch. The hands, the capped center of the dial, the seconds hand is capped in the center of the dial, I should say. Beautiful applied indices. It's right up my alley, but it is just tiny. Let's get the calipers. I'll give you some dimensions. Almost 33.5 millimeters in diameter. Wow, look at that. 5.4 millimeters thick total. Incredible. 17 mil lugs. Strap tapers down to 13.5, and the case length is just under 39 millimeters. Right, let's see how much this thing weighs. It weighs 25 grams. And the crystal is sapphire crystal. It is a flat piece of sapphire crystal with an internal clear AR coating. I wasn't expecting that. That's pretty cool. Very thin and very soft strap. Yeah, you've got a stainless steel buckle there. Signed underneath, look. That's pretty cool, isn't it? Yeah, I like that. Nice touch. It is very, very soft though, but Not a very nice looking strap, is it? But it fits my wrist. So yeah, you should be able to get it to fit. It's just whether or not it's going to look right on your wrist, I think. And let's just zoom in and have a look at the case finishing. You've got drilled lugs, which is nice. Yeah, an interesting crown, tiny crown, but actually you can use it. It's not impossible to use. Yeah, reasonable finishing on the case, isn't it? Fully polished all the way around. The only brushing is on the case back there, look. And you've got some specifications at the bottom. And that reference number at the bottom, I think that means this watch was made in 2021 in November, and it is watch number 165 off the production line. And I just want to take you back to the dial and the hands one more time. The dial actually has a bit of a sparkly finish to it. It's not a matte effect. There's definitely some texture and some sparkle to it. Man, if this was 37 millimeters in diameter, I would absolutely love it. It is just too small for me, but those hands, the dial, the case shape, it's exactly what I love. It's just too small. Now, I'd normally wrap up the review by sitting back here and running through a list of strengths and weaknesses and then giving a little summary at the end of the value for money prospect, perhaps, but I'm not going to spend too much time on that in this video because I've spent quite a lot of time talking about the movement, and that was really the focus of the review, was just to bring the movement inside this watch to everybody's attention and share a little bit of information that I discovered about it. But if I was to list some strengths and weaknesses, well, the weaknesses are obviously the size. It is tiny. It's a JDM watch. It was designed for Japanese businessmen, so it's not going to be suitable for the vast majority of you. The strengths are, well, I do think it looks beautiful. If only it was a little bit bigger. The movement, obviously a massive strength, fascinating movement inside this thing. Dia shield, sapphire crystal, beautiful dial. I mean, it's an incredible watch. It's just such a shame it's not a little bit bigger. But the good news is, if you do win this watch when I give it away, you can actually choose between this one and a second-hand Grand Seiko. I have bought the cheapest Grand Seiko on Chrono24, which just happened to contain the 8J51 high accuracy quartz movement. It looks a little bit beaten up, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, the lucky recipient is going to be able to choose between this one or that one. I will produce a video on that watch when it arrives, probably post it on Our Luck Watches too, so look out for that, guys. But yeah, let me know what you think of this watch and the review in the comment section. And please make sure you take part in my giveaways. If you're a subscriber, all you have to do is find the launch videos and comment. It's that easy. If you're not a subscriber, why are you not a subscriber? All right, guys, see you soon.